Somebody come rescue us, man. Montserrat was sailing in full speed under the leadership of Reuben Meade. Then they turned the ship over to a captain named Romeo. Then all of a sudden the ship started going down. So they brought a new captain hailing from long ground. Some people start swimming, some even start drowning. Montserrat in trouble. Reuben rescue my people. United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. Montserrat is in distress. We need you to clean up this mess. United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. With your strong leadership, we know you can steer this ship. You have the capacity to turn this country around. With your competent crew, we will rebound. It's not too late. In your team, we put our faith. United alliance, come rescue your people. United, united. We need a captain on board. Yeah, man. Our country is now at the brink. If we don't change course, we bound to sink. So we need a competent crew to turn this ship around. So now is not the time to procrastinate. Get aboard the ship before it's too late. Montserratians come, non-nationals come. Let us unite as one to build back this nation. United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. Montserrat is in distress. We need you to clean up this mess. United, united, united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. With your strong leadership, we know you can steer this ship. You have the capacity to turn this country around. With your competent crew, we will rebound. It's not too late. In your team, we put our faith. United alliance, come rescue your people. United, united.
Good morning, radio listeners, and welcome to another edition of the program Let's Talk with the United Alliance. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you from on Ireland and those overseas following us online. This morning we have a small crew, but we hope to have a big program. Again, as I look on the table, I'm seeing all males this morning, so I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves and just say hello to the people before we start.
Well, good Montserrat, those listening in the Eastern Caribbean, and of course those listening in the US, Canada, and England. This is Jenzil O Skerritt, candidate for the United Alliance, saying good morning and looking forward to speaking with you and telling you our ideas that we have for Montserrat this morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is John Osborne. Good morning to everyone locally and abroad that's listening to our program today. And we hope to engage you today with our ideas and hope that you listen. And also call in too, because the program is open. So call in and share your ideas, your questions with us also.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Reuben T Meade, the leader of the United Alliance. Greetings and welcome to one and all online and on radio.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I would like to start this morning on a slightly different note, non-political note. And it takes back to my days of what I used to call civics at school. And one reason this morning I'm speaking like this is because I've heard a couple of persons in Montserrat saying they're not voting because government has done nothing for them. And it's unfortunate when we get to that stage because whether you support PDM, MCAP, or whosoever, I think it's our civic duty to vote. No, we cannot force people to vote, and people have a right not to vote. But what bothers me is when I hear people keep saying that government has done nothing for them. Let us be fair. I'm a product of a system where government helped to make me who I am. Some people pay taxes and some don't. Some pay more taxes than others. But at the end of the day, as a community, we all get together to make this country what it is for us. So whether MCAP is in power or PDM is in power, we drive on the roads. The roads has to be maintained, the roads have to be taken care of. That is part of what a government does for you. Let us face it. Your children go to school. They enjoy the benefits of free education. Somebody has to take care of that. That's the role of government. You know, you go to the hospital. Again, you enjoy the benefits of a hospital healthcare system. So let us not say that government has done nothing for us. Because I think the truth of the matter is, all of us, those who pay taxes and those who don't pay taxes, we are all beneficiaries of the administration. Let us argue over policies. You may disagree in how something may be done. Yes, that is fair. One of the things that we could argue over is should politicians get a pension after 6 years? That's a legitimate argument. Should public servants work for 20 years and politicians get pension after 6 years? Let us have that argument. I agree. Let us argue about what approach we should take to develop the country. Is begging the British government for everything the only solution, or should we have a government that sees the private sector as a vital engine for economic growth? That is a vital argument. But let us not say that we're not voting because government has done nothing for me. All of us in this country have been beneficiaries of a government program, whether or not we like it. It is your civic duty to vote. I would encourage and employ everybody to get out and vote. Because the truth is, if you don't vote, then I will make the decision for you. I will decide what government you will get.
You mean somebody else?
Yeah, but somebody else will determine what government you get. So let us all become part of the program. We could disagree, as I said before. We could disagree on policy, we could disagree on color. There's so many things we could disagree on, but let us all agree that is our civic duty and our civic right to participate in the electoral process of this country. I don't know if anybody want to chip in on that one.
Well, what I will say to that is many of our foreparents fought for the right to vote. When we're saying we will not vote, we're simply saying we do not respect what our forebears fought for. This should not be a personal matter, because we have seen cases where somebody asking for a fridge or a stove or something, in other words, give me something to vote for you. That is in fact illegal. So it is not who can give you what. And secondly, you live beyond 5 years. And when you're unemployed for 5 years and only at election time, that somebody remembers you to give you something, that is not the person to vote for. One has got to look at what can those individuals bring to the country to cause you to be better off. Not what they personally can give you, but what they can create within the country to make all of us better off as a country.
And we all have persons smaller than us, be it our nieces, our nephews, our grandparents, and our children, that are depending on us, the population that is here, to make a decision for the leadership of the country. We cannot ignore that responsibility, because in the long run and in the short run, it affects how they are treated. Not only ourselves, but the next generation of persons who are growing up here that will call Montserrat its home. So the onus is upon us as a population to use the right that we've inherited from our parents and our grandparents who stood the test of time and use that power on election day. Exercise your right to vote for persons. In our opinion, it's the United Alliance. But vote for the person that you know will represent your interests and take the country forward. Because all what we're doing here is to take this country forward together.
And Austin, let's be sympathetic with them, and because we understand that over the years, sometimes people just want to be heard, they just want to be listened to, and they feel like politicians only hear them or listen to them during the time of election. And if you realize that since we've been on the campaign trail, persons who have said that they weren't going to vote are now saying that they will vote, because we give them a listening ear and we make them feel included in our decisions and even in some of our speeches. Because a lot of times we talk to these people, we sit down, we feel and hear what they're talking about. And sometimes that's all they want. It's not really about handouts or what you give them. Sometimes people just want a listening ear. So you would have picked up that the United Alliance has already started to change that trend of people saying that they're not voting or they don't want to vote because they already feel included in the type of governance that we're going to bring to Montserrat. So I do understand why some of them would have said that they're not voting, because sometimes all you actually just have to do is listen.
Okay, thank you very much, John, and the others on the table. As I said before, let us just look at what a person may give you personally, but look at the bigger picture. Look at the education of your children, your healthcare services. Look at the bigger picture where we all benefit from whatever takes place within government. And I encourage persons, go out and do your civic duty and vote. As I said before, we're the United Alliance, we would want you to vote for us, but whether you vote for the United Alliance or not, I think it is your civic duty to take part in this process. Now, gentlemen, I want to move on. This morning we want to talk about how the United Alliance will improve the economic opportunities for persons in Montserrat. One of the complaints we hear basically that things are difficult, things are challenging, and we agree with that. But this could only be done if we have a comprehensive plan to improve the economic opportunities of Persons Island. Who do want to start off this morning?
Well, Austin, I think I'm going to kick the ball off here this morning. When we ask some of the persons, for example, who are trying to push the industry of construction forward, what are some of their challenges on the campaign trail and even before, we realize that the planning approval process at some points seems to be a little bit strenuous. It seems to be extended for several weeks, could even enter some months. We as the United Alliance have done some research, and we're telling the public at large that we will put a platform on place to improve the planning approval time. So no longer it will be a month and 2 months to get your plans, your renovations, your additions to your homes done. We will put a platform in place so that the planning approval process will be quickly executed, and therefore you can start your additions to your homes quicker and faster and more effective. This means that you can do work faster. So instead of having the contractor sitting and waiting and the laborer sitting around and waiting, you will now have access to that process much quicker. In addition to that, you look at our housing stock across the island and even in areas across the Bellum and say, some of these properties are a bit dated, they have not been used, we want to bring them back into our housing pool once again. We are saying that we are creating already policies so that persons with those homes, 30-year homes, 40-year homes, that need to be uplifted, because they will say that these properties are now they're dated, and our tourists need to have properties with first world amenities. So therefore, we are saying that we're going to give you a special package that you'll be able to bring these properties up to the current market standard that you see in Antigua and other Caribbean countries. And this is for areas even as far as Lookout, as you see that they're very much affected by the sea blast, and they would approach about 25 years now on the housing market. They too need to be renovated. So across the island, this is something that we're saying will bring some ease to the construction industry, the laborers, the masons, the carpenters out there who are desperately trying to find additional work. We are saying that we have heard you as a party and we'll be able to deliver on this aspect of our promise this morning.
Okay, listeners, we're inviting you to call in this morning. You can get us at 491-7227, 4919064, 4962885 via WhatsApp. We want you to be part of this to be a more interactive program this morning, so I hope you will participate. Share your ideas, discuss with us what you're hearing, and let us continue the discussion. Now, Jenzil, you started off by talking about construction, right? And the role that construction plays in the economic development. I don't know if anybody's want to chip on that, because you see sometimes we see a house being built, but there's so much that goes into it, so many different factors. That's why I want to just speak to that aspect of it.
Oh, we have a caller.
Yeah, we have a caller.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, good morning, caller.
I have one. Good morning. I have one question to ask. Is there any plans of putting a bridge or anything to connect Cork Hill with the rest of the world? I would say, because if Cork Hill is not connected, I don't know how you guys are going to move forward. So could you let me or some other people know if there's any plans in place to put a bridge at Bellum?
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
Okay, thanks for that, caller. I'll try to respond to that. One of the things that we need to do is to reopen the Bellum River. We have to excavate back down to the river, so that we can recreate the pond at the bottom, and we have a flowing river. So one of the proposals which we have, and we have to discuss it with the people in the area, is that we will get the sand miners to work in the riverbed to clear the river channel, so that we will then allow the water to run under a bridge rather than flowing over just a filled-in area. If we try to put on a bridge as the situation stands now, every time the river comes down, you're going to find that more and more material builds up under the bridge. But if you clear the channel and we build the bridge across that river itself, then you'll find that we will be in a position to keep it open even when river come down, as we used to call it. But that clearly is something which we have in mind to do, and we actually have a proposal as to how we will finance it. But these are details which I do not wish to go into at this time. But the answer to you, in short, is yes.
And yes, to continue off, we were speaking about the property developments across the island. We noticed in the area of Salem, for example, and this is a little introduction into my speech for Saturday, but the properties in Salem, you would see several of them have been abandoned. And we have spoken to some of the property owners, and internally as a party, and we are saying that if we are getting to the point of going into government, if we are going to make a policy that will support the renovation of these properties, even if it is to the fact that the property owners will receive payments after the property is completed and fixed and let, so that the owner of the property is also benefit until going forward they have reached a situation where it's balanced.
I think we have another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance.
Good morning.
Good morning. Caller, you hearing us?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thanks.
Yes. Firstly, to Mr. Meade. Mr. Meade, I had a thought about getting all the leaders of parties and the independent persons who wanted to appear on a debate. I personally would like to do it. I don't know what your thoughts on that. I have a few questions, though, this morning for you. First is about the cost of living and low wages. This is for the whole party, anyway. Now, it says many residents struggle with the high cost of living while earning low wages. What specific measures will you implement to ensure that wages are fair and sufficient to cover basic living expenses? And part two, how will you address the rising costs of essential goods and services, especially considering that few people have and even fewer can afford these bare essentials? And we can talk more about the debate. I would really like to do it. Right, thank you.
If anyone knows me, you know I will never shy away from a debate with anyone. Shirley Osborne on Brain Power has invited the other leaders to her program. I have accepted to be on her program next week, Monday. The Youth Parliament, who normally does the debate programs, I'm urging them to put on such a debate program as they did in the previous elections. So that's one. As it relates to the high cost of living, and we're gonna get into that when we get into the program. But we have had discussions with customs, we have had discussions with merchants. One of the things that impacts the cost of products in Montserrat is the duty on freight. Now, we can't give up all of the duty because clearly that impacts on government revenue. So what we have decided is if we reduce the duty on freight by 50%, in other words, you're charging duty on half of the freight, then the merchants have agreed that they will pass on that saving to the consumers. Clearly, we'll have to put in a mechanism to ensure that that is done, and a unit will be created within the MCRS to monitor those prices. So that's one. The second one, as it relates to wages, yes, we have to look at wages. Wages are impacted by your economic situation and circumstance. To a great extent, many people focus on the wages of civil servants only. But you have many other persons in the private sector who also have low wages and need those to be increased. And what we're saying, if we grow the economy, we will also grow the wages and the ability to pay higher wages on island. And let me just go on from here since I have the floor. We have spoken to some retired persons and some young persons. One of the micro enterprises which we have decided that we will put in place and finance. We have a lot of mangoes, for example, and other fruits. We will be financing privately those micro enterprises to process mangoes by drying them, using them as dried snacks, and also breadfruit, which will be parboiled and put in the appropriate packaging, which is vacuum sealing, which means that they can be transported more readily to the United Kingdom, to the United States, or elsewhere. Because when persons are going back, they can take those back with them. This will provide additional income to those persons, and that helps them, especially the youngsters who are coming onto the job market, and we've worked some numbers as to how much money they can make. We're utilizing our mangoes and we're utilizing our breadfruit, and also our senior citizens, giving them an opportunity to earn some more money by doing what they can do through that enterprise. Let me talk very briefly as to how that will be financed. I have given the assurance that if I am made the Premier of Montserrat again in this election, I will only accept the equivalent of my current pension plus allowances, and the remainder of my salary will go towards financing those micro enterprise projects. The funding That process will be available for the first 6 months in the first instance, and once we have reviewed how it's going, then I'm willing to continue for an additional 6 months, etc., etc. This is a process which will not be done by me. We have spoken with an organization that is registered in the United Kingdom, the Montserrat Progressive Society, not to be confused with the U.S. Montserrat Progressive Society. They're a registered charity, and the funds will be transferred directly from the Treasury into their funds for their distribution without my involvement in the process. So these are some of the ways which we're looking at, and as we get further into the program, there's some others which will come up as well. So, Carl, I hope that has responded to some of your concerns, at least.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meade. And John will continue the discussion as to follow up on where Mr. Meade was in how we could continue to improve the economic situation of our fellow Montserratians.
Well, building off of Jenzil and Mr. Meade, let's go back to the housing with Jenzil. One of the issues that we have with housing, as you would know, is that many of our people are saying that they don't have trained persons to come and actually work and build houses. Like, we know contractors who are saying that they had to bring people from overseas. And one of the things that we want to do as the United Alliance is bring back the technical program so that we can start training our youngsters, training our people to fill that void in the economy, creating those jobs, because we know that a lot of those jobs are the lucrative jobs within the society. So we want to bring back the technical school and train people to be plumbers, train people to be electricians, train people to be masons and carpenters. And having that access, having people trained, should also alleviate the problem that a lot of people are having where their income is just too low to support their needs at the moment. To build on Mr. Meade's point now, you know that I'm a very big advocate for entrepreneurship. When we look at the cost of living in Montserrat, we have to look at it from two different ways. We have to look at it, one, reducing the cost that people buy goods and services. And then two, we also have to look at it from the standpoint that people need more money in their pockets. People just need to make more money. So he's spoken about the micro enterprises, which we plan to bring on board. Yes, that's one of the points. But we do also have industries and enterprises that are kind of already set up. And I say kind of already set up because although they're there and somewhat functional, they're not really close to their peak capacity at all. So we could look at agriculture and animal husbandry, fishing, etc. We could look at that. We could even go into the sand mining industry if you want, and we could elaborate on each one of those points. But let me start with agriculture, for instance. Our farmers definitely need more support. Definitely need more support. What we find in Montserrat is that sometimes we have even a gap in our agricultural industry. Let's say just during the months that we don't have a lot of rain, because you know that most of our farmers plant and farm around the rainy season. Now, as a government, what we really need to do is put policies in place that help them through those seasons, or give them direct help with new technologies like hydroponics to help them through those seasons. So, for instance, one of the things that you always hear me talk about is water. People would always say Montserrat has an abundance of water. Sometimes you hear it's reported that we have so much water that we don't use majority of it. But we don't have policies in place that allow people to use that water. When I say in place that allow them to use water, for instance, you have a commercial rate for water that's higher than your residential rate. That would not encourage a farmer to go into farming and put in systems to water their plants. So you have to look at policies from that standpoint, and then you also have to look at farming from its efficiency standpoint now. So do we teach our farmers about more efficient systems, the drip systems, the hydroponic systems? Yes, because while you want to make the water cheaper to encourage them to go into it, you also want to make the whole system more efficient to make sure that they're not still paying a lot of money just to irrigate or just for their farming practices. So as a government, we need to do more than just actually investing in the farmers, but we need to actually educate them also. Just as you watching me, so
absolutely, John. I completely support the idea that you're putting forward. In addition to having the residential rate lower or higher than the commercial rate, and I'll even say industrial rate, is to also reduce, one of the factors of production. I always hear a person say, Montserrat has water, let's do water bottling. We are saying, look, that is an area we see great potential. We've spoken to some persons, see the potential, and we were willing to go forward in that avenue. But it has to be with the endorsement of the public. And we are saying, vote for the United Alliance, a team that is willing to do the research behind the scenes, bring you what we find as potential areas, and then, of course, create those jobs around those areas so that you, the people of Montserrat, can benefit.
I want to go back to this something John said earlier. Let us look at the linkage between education and economic development. We speak a lot about technical education. And if we look around, you find a lot of the persons who came to the technical college system are self-employed. And most of these people did not go into government to work. Look at all leading plumbers. I could call names. Electricians, draftsmen, my friend Joel. Good morning, Joel. I have to show Joel, my partner, Joel Osborne. Because here's an example of a young man who went into the technical college system. And they prove that economic success can be derived through that system. So again, I say the education system, and I want somebody to continue speaking a little bit about that. How we use our educational system in the whole aspect of economic growth and development nationally.
Let me just step in just briefly on this one. Our focus on education is on academic. We don't focus too much on the other aspects of education. Wealth building. For example, you give a child X number of dollars as their pocket money. Do you expect them to spend all of it? Or should they start saving some of it? Very, very important. So you start from as early as your primary schools. I don't even go to preschool, but primary school, where you teach children the basics of saving. Credit union used to have a program, I don't know if they still have it. Because if everything you get, you're spending, then you will never create wealth. Agricultural production, business enterprise, we start that in the primary schools, where there could be competitions in the primary school as to building a little business while you're in school. I did it when I was in secondary school. We used to sell drinks from across the fence, and then we started selling biscuits and so forth. And we generated money. And that's how I had enough money. Ronnie Cooper and myself, we had a little money extra to get into university. So if we don't do it from within the school, then you don't expect that our adults will just come out of school and pick it up. You have to build that culture. And this is something which we have to put into our school system. John?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think some of our viewers would remember that Kello and I were actually on the radio about 2 weeks ago, and we started a competition for the youth, which was a business plan competition. And that was the exact reason why Kello and I sat down and thought about that, because we felt like you need to get entrepreneurship into the schools. I always say one thing when it comes to youth. Sometimes we're out there in the public and you hear people say, oh, well, we can't come up with any ideas as to what to do, like what business to create. And I always say, if you want to see creation and you want to see people who are creative, give the youth the chance to do so, and you'll realize that they are more creative than the adults. That is why you have countries like China and Japan. When they want to create new technologies, they start teaching that in the school, and most of the new technologies come out of the school with them having people creating robots and doing programming and stuff in the school. The youths dream more than we do, they're more imaginative than we are. So give them the opportunity and you will realize that you'll create an economy just out of their creativity. Hold on, Austin, we also have a question here on WhatsApp. It says, good morning. I am happy to hear that you're going to put things in place to speed up the process of getting building plans approved. There are a few architects on Ireland who feel that some people in the planning department have biases against them and give them a difficult time to approve their plans. How do you plan on addressing this issue?
Yeah. Let's look at a basic house. A basic house is a basic house is a basic house. Why do you need to go through an entire planning board when you're building pretty much the same house? So the process should be very simple, where a basic house should be allowed to be approved by the planning authority, rather than having to go to the planning board. If you're doing a complex project,
Multi-level,
hotel, something of that nature, then you need the planning board to go through. Somebody wishing to build a house, an ordinary regular house, they should be in a position to get planning permission within 3 days to 1 week maximum. It's a very simple process. Yes, you know where the pit is, you know how many doors should be there, you know where the electricals are supposed to be. And if there's something missing from the plan, and I think all of the architects and architectural technicians know basically what needs to go where, then give them the planning permission within a week so they can get on with their project. Having to wait a month or more turns off some people. If we're ready to do business, it is how quickly we can turn around things in this country that encourages persons to do business, even our own people in doing business, because we turn one another off too easily. So let's take, for example, as we build out our economy, where do we put our tourists? Yes, we have the villas. Most of them are 40 years plus old. One individual has indicated, I wanted to bring in some tiles, etc., to fix my place. Could I get these duty free? And the time it has taken for them to get that information back to them as to whether or not they qualify, they've changed their mind. So here is what we can do. Let us look at a policy of making building materials duty-free to encourage construction, employment in construction, persons fixing up their places and getting them ready for the market. And these are easy things to fix.
I think we have another caller. Caller, good morning. Okay, no, we don't have that caller with us.
Okay. So until we get that call on, let me just finish the point, if I may.
Yeah.
Hurricane shutters. Why do you need an SRNO for hurricane shutters for just a period of time?
we're in a hurricane zone.
If I can afford one hurricane shutter 1 month at a time, then let me put on my hurricane shutters or acquire my hurricane shutters 1 month at a time. I can't afford to buy 12 hurricane shutters for the 12 windows in my house all at once. So make hurricane shutters duty free, straight across the board. And you stop this application to cabinet on a 1-by-1 basis for very simple things which could be made duty free. Additionally, persons are coming here to buy property and they need to get an alien landholding license. The alien landholding license should take no more than 1 week. We used to do it before. As long as it's submitted before the meeting of cabinet, it's a standard application process. You submit it to cabinet, and cabinet should approve it and just allow the person to go ahead with his business.
Okay, I think we have another caller. Caller, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, we have lost the call again. Yeah, you can call us. We wanted to have a more interactive program this morning. 491-7227, 491-9064. Or if you want to send us a WhatsApp message, 496-2885. As I said this morning, we're hoping for a more interactive program. Mr. Meade, do you want to continue?
Yes. So we have the villa tourism. We have persons who are doing what I consider bed and breakfast, or the new phrase, Airbnb. Okay, the call is coming back.
Good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance.
Good morning, Austin.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to the rest of the panel. And me glad I Premier Meade on the panel this morning. Anyway, just before, let me big eye up once more for the line. And let me say this here, big and broad. Anybody that we can interact with me now, so please, others, I open the line that we can interact with you, otherwise I don't look forward for me experience. Okay, now. Premier Meade, you hear me? Asking me not here.
Yes, good morning.
Yes. Well, Mr. on this agenda, but it got something that bother me plenty, so I'm going to tell you a little bit. I want to know your opinion on the Ukraine flag fly on Montserrat style. Give me your opinion, and I'll tell you what you say, you come back. All right?
I suspect you're dealing with the Ukrainian flag being flown at the governor's office. The governor's office is in fact, very theoretically, British soil. And therefore, we have no control over what they do on their British soil. It's like an embassy. You can't say to, even an independent country cannot say to let's say the Americans, what flag they can fly on their own property. So that's not something I think we should worry too much about. What we need to worry about is whether or not at government headquarters we fly our own flag. And secondly, whether or not that flag truly represents Montserrat, or we need to start having a discussion on the change of that flag to one which represents us more than Erin and the Harp. We don't know who Erin is, and we don't do harps in Montserrat. Okay, so may I continue? So the other one is, so we have the villa tourism, we have the Airbnb, or whatever you want to call it, but we also need to have a signature hotel in Montserrat. And once we have a signature hotel in Montserrat, we will create employment possibilities across the board. I'll come back to that after this call.
Caller, good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance.
Yes. Remember, me understand everything that you say. But here, my point now. How we pick side. If Russia should fly over and see this Ukraine flag and he drop one bomb, I will get on just the British compound.
It is not a matter for us to get ourselves too worked up with. It's a matter which it's on quote-unquote British soil, and the government of Montserrat really have no control over what happens at the governor's office.
I think we have another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance. Hello, good day. Okay, I think we may have lost that caller. So we'll continue the discussion until the caller gets back.
If we speak to the signature hotel, if we have 120 rooms, we will then be in a position to create vast range of employment opportunities. Your chefs, your your waiters, your managers, your technicians, etc. That if you have a hotel of 120 rooms, you're immediately creating at least 240 regular full-time jobs just from that one hotel. Regular full-time within the hotel itself. If we have 120 rooms.
Caller, good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Hi, good morning. I know you have your program and you have your lineup, but these are things, matters on the ground. So I will just go right ahead with the unaffordable health care. These are three parts. Access to affordable health care is a significant concern. Now, what plans do you have to make health services more affordable and accessible to all residents? How will you ensure that health care facilities are adequately equipped and staffed? Additionally, many residents have to travel overseas to receive certain healthcare services that are not available on the island, which is also quite costly. How do you plan to address this issue and reduce the financial burden on residents? I await your responses.
Good morning, caller. As you know, we have a resident doctor on our team who is not here currently, but we've actually spoken to her about a lot of the issues in healthcare. One of the things that we're advocating for healthcare to reduce the overall cost on the people for healthcare is early detection of certain ailments. So Dr. Buffonge is quite big on that. And as she's explained to the team, if we put certain equipment in place at the hospital to detect a lot of the ailments, the early detection of like cancers or like other autoimmune diseases, then you won't have to spend the large sum of money that you usually would have to spend on the corrective measures. Because she's a doctor, and as she said, it's easier to detect something early and deal with it then than to wait till it's actually a really, really big problem and then have to actually do corrective measures for it. One of the things that she's spoken to the team about is to have a policy in place, because some of these ailments apparently come up around a certain age range. So she feels that there should be certain policies put in place to start doing the screenings for certain things at around a certain age range, and that should help bring down the cost. Because if you don't have to worry about getting stage 4 cancer because we detect it when it's very small, then it's easier for you to fix it at that point and much less costly for you to fix it at that point. As just an example of how we plan to bring down the overall costs.
There's also another method which is currently in operation but not sufficient. If we have a regular visiting medical specialist program where we can have medical specialists coming in more frequently, we have the basic equipment on island. Sometimes we'd have to supplement that equipment by them bringing their own. We will then be in a position to do a lot more of that care, the surgeries, etc., and the monitoring that we as a very small community cannot afford. There is a medical doctor who has already indicated that once we're in office, and I suppose I can call his name, Dr. Daly, who has been with us for a very long time, who has coordinated these programs, is willing to bring on island medical specialists on a more frequent basis, where you can't afford, for example, to have an ophthalmologist here full-time, or a heart specialist here full-time, or a renal surgeon here full-time. But if you can get them here once every 3 months, that will help significantly in reducing the cost. And I'll use one example. During one of the programs which Dr. Daly and his team had, there was a gentleman who was referred to overseas specialists to do an operation, which he was quoted a cost of $30,000 to do that operation. I had a conversation with the gentleman personally, and I said to him, we have specialists coming here within 3 weeks. Your doctor says it's okay for you to wait the 3 weeks. would you be willing to have the operation done in Montserrat? The cost of the operation to that individual, having it done in Montserrat by technical professionals, cost him $3,000, as against the $30,000, which was being quoted as just the base cost for his treatment overseas. Because once he's overseas, you have to pay for airfare, you have to pay for family members coming across to support you. While he's in Montserrat, he didn't have to do that. And why the $3,000? It was just the basic daily rates in the hospital, plus a few attendant medications that he had.
Mr. Meade, there's another aspect of healthcare which I've heard the team discussing, is the whole idea of overseas travel and treatment overseas. How does this party plan to deal with that aspect of it?
During our time in office, and I think Colin Riley was the Minister for Health at the time, and King Silcott was the Permanent Secretary, we flew across to Guadeloupe and we created an MOU with the hospital, the major hospital in Guadeloupe, which is at European Union standards. This arrangement then provided for us to helicopter a patient from here directly to the hospital, because they have their own helipad at the hospital. So your emergency situations where you can't wait for the visiting medical specialist to come, then we would have taken that patient directly to Guadeloupe. And we're expecting to find that MOU, dust it off, go back to Guadeloupe and have discussions with them. And additionally, as Guadeloupe said to us, we don't do all of the specialist programs, but whatever we don't do, Martinique does, and we'll do it at our cost. Now, how did we reduce the cost? We're simply saying to them, let us come to an understanding. Let's pay you 100 units of currency. Sometimes it's going to go more than 100 units. Sometimes it's going to go less than 100 units. And each year we'll reevaluate and make those costs available. This would simply mean that your patients going from Montserrat to the Guadeloupe facility do not have a cost which is attributable to them, because it's all filled in within an MOU. So these are things, it's not nuclear science. These are things which we did between 2009 and 2014. The MOU is there. Colin Riley, who criticizes us from time to time, is still around, and he can speak to that same program as the former Minister for Health, and what benefits that did, because we had individuals who actually were flown to Guadeloupe under that MOU and came out very successful.
Okay, callers, you can call us at 491-7227, 491-9064, and 496-2885. Yes, we wanted this morning to be a bit more interactive, and we're hoping to speak about the economy. But whatever the question is, we'll deal with that. I think we have something else on WhatsApp, John?
Yeah, we have a few questions on WhatsApp. The first question is saying, maybe it was addressed already, but how about simplifying of the customs clearance procedures? In particular, the clearance of duty-free or SRNO items, one stop, not to the ministry, then to finance, and then to the customs office, and then to the customs at the port of entry. And I must say I agree with this caller. There was a few things that I think we need to look at. For instance, I think we can simplify a lot of these processes and streamline a lot of these processes. Something like a fishing hook hosting or hoe. If I'm a farmer or I'm a fisherman, I shouldn't have to go to the ministry to get permission to get duty free on a set of hooks or a fishing rod or a hoe, because we know that only one thing you could possibly be buying those things for. So I must say I agree with the caller on that we could actually streamline a lot of these processes, maybe even the whole customs process on a whole. And there's some items that instead of having to go to the ministry to get permission to make them duty free, we can just look through the tariff book and probably just make these items duty free.
But the customs officers have indicated that they can make the system simpler, but it is for government to put the process in place. Everything nowadays is done electronically. So why don't we use an electronic system? Everybody has WhatsApp. And as John is rightly saying, why do I give Jenzil a duty-free concession, but he has to go to Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Agriculture to sign off? The product is duty-free, so I don't need it to be signed off by the Ministry of Agriculture. It is simply duty-free. And we must stop this process of things must be very personal. So Jenzil wants something duty-free and he qualifies for it. Why does he need to apply to cabinet to get a duty-free concession? Let us make those things duty-free, so everybody benefits equally and it's very, very transparent. And these are things which we from the United Alliance will ensure that they're put in place. Okay? I've already had a chat with the developers, for example, of the EXCO track, which is the Electronic Executive Council documentation process. They're saying they can have it up and running within 1 week of us getting into government. 1 week. And for 10 years, almost, we have not been able to get it functioning. Simply because at the ministerial and government level, they have created their own roadblocks to such a development. And the same thing should happen as it relates to all services across government, that you should be able to stay at home, go online, and have your services done. You want to register your motor vehicle? Why do you have to go down there and write on a piece of paper? You should be able to fill out a form on your telephone and submit it, rather than going down there and somebody walking around your vehicle to determine whether or not your motor vehicle is roadworthy. That does not determine that your vehicle is roadworthy. Let us certify a few garages across the island, and when they give you the equivalent of what they call the MOT in the UK, you take that, you make your application online for your drivers, for your motor vehicle renewal. A disc is sent to you electronically, and you put it on your vehicle. Very, very simple. These are things that the youngsters within Montserrat are able to create, and let us allow them to use their creative juices, for want of a better phrase, to get things done. We can do birth certificates, for example, online. A youngster who has been back on island now for about a year has complained, but Chief, we have these things ready to be up and running, but we can't get the government to create a policy and to get these things done. So we are saying to you, we will make things simpler, easier for business to take place in Montserrat.
We have another question. It says, good morning to the panel. What is the plan to adjust the current mull issues?
Okay, the mull issues, and John and I were on a telephone call on Saturday, around the same time that we did not have electricity. Unfortunately, we had enough bandwidth, or at least I had enough bandwidth at my house to be able to use my data, to be able to take the call, but we couldn't do it video, because I like to see who I'm talking to. We're speaking to a power company, an internationally based power company, who is saying to us, the issues that you have with your generating plant, we can fix it within 11 days. Is correct, John?
Correct.
I said to them, yes, 11 days is good. I'm going to say we're going to have it fixed within 30 days. So I asked the second question. That is from the generation side. But your transmission side, I think we have a problem with our transmission system. And it says, okay, we can have your transmission system examined within that 30-day period, because the island is small, and they can check all the transformers across the island. Sorry, that's the transformers, your step-up, step-down transformers on the poles. We can examine all of those within that same 30-day period and recommend to you what changes you need to make. The third aspect is you have ducts between Salem and Woodlands. We need to put our main power lines underground because we are in the hurricane zone. We have ducts as well from Cudgerhead, I think, down to Braids. I'm not too sure if they reach the power plant, but they should have.
Yes, yeah.
Put those power lines underground, and each year we put in an extra mile or two from our own resources underground. You don't have to look at doing all of it one time. Let's take time and do it, because if we don't get the funding from DFID or FCDO, then we use the resources which we have. But they are assuring us that within 1 month of us getting into office, we sign an agreement with them, they can come and fix that problem with us. And also provide training for the staff, the hard-working staff at Mull, to ensure that they're up to scratch. And even if they have to take them to some of their facilities for additional training, that will happen. The fourth aspect of it is that there is someone resident on Montserrat who is capable of going in to look at the accounting system, the management system, to come up with a recommendation to government as to what needs to be done at that level. And that individual is willing to do it free of cost. But as I said to him, it is unfair of you not to charge something to be able to do that. We have the resources here. We have contacts that we're using. And we will ensure that we have that power system fixed within that period as we've indicated.
But to add to your point, and going back to that meeting, and going back to today's topic, so you're talking about job creation and the economy, I think it's noteworthy to mention some of the points that came out of that meeting. Like, for instance, one of the things that seems to be possible is that they'll be able to reduce the cost of electricity. That alone would help the economy. The other thing, too, that came out of that meeting was that if you reduce the cost of electricity, you can then attract other people to come in other industries and probably create a few new industries within Montserrat, which would also create more jobs. So, and then you remember we spoke about like technology with the data banks, etc., and also processing of raw materials, which sometimes uses a lot of energy. So for those people who might say, oh, well, you won't be able to reduce the cost because it's going to cost you to put geothermal in place. If you have people that are using up enough energy, then you spread the cost over a wide number of units of energy, and so it will still remain cheap for the locals. We have another question here. It says, good morning. Payments for services or products provided to government have been adversely affected by a deficit and all late budgets for the last 4 fiscal years. Consequently, or related, there have been a trend for government payments averaging 2 to 3 weeks, and recently some payments took over 2 months. How can you, as the UA government, be willing to revert to a more expeditious period of payments to suppliers, contractors, etc., who have been generally frustrated and unwilling to do business with the government?
Okay, 2 things. No ministry nor department should contract a service for which they do not have budgetary provision for. If you don't have the money, you can't spend it. Neither can you commit it. So the money has to be there once they send you an order. Okay, that's 1. 2, it's a very simple system. once persons in the office who are responsible for finance are doing their work, then it's a very simple process of certifying the payment, and all of this is done electronically. The certification goes down and the approval goes down to Treasury, and the payment goes to your bank within 24 hours. So there should be no one who is waiting for weeks or months to get payment, and we need to clean up that system.
Guys, may I interrupt you? We have another call coming in. Caller, good morning and welcome to Let's Talk with United Alliance.
Yes, good morning. The voice here. I want to ask the Premier could answer it, because I think he's the one who's senior in government. He's been there and will be going back there. Why is it that, because this is a job, a business that I have, and it's been very hard on customers that ask me to do this for them, and sometimes I can't even charge them. I send a radiator over to Antigua to get fixed because no one here does it. We have no one here fixing radiators for vehicles, which we need to look into in the technical college that we're going to get. I paid $300 in Antigua to fix it, the same radiator. And when it comes back here, because I have to pay to send it, pay to bring it back. When it comes back here, you're charging me duty on the cost of the service that was done in Antigua. Why is it that that's happening? Why am I paying the government here tax on a service that the government here did not provide for me? I had to get it from outside. Can you please tell me what's going on with that?
But really, that fixing of the radiator should not be dutiable, because it's a CARICOM product or it's a CARICOM service, and the duty on CARICOM services should not carry that rate of duty. And that's something which we'll clearly look at. If we cannot provide a service here and you had to send something to Antigua to be fixed, I think it's only fair that we should not charge any duty on it, because we've made it unavailable to you in the country. And that is something which we clearly will deal with. And secondly, we have to be in a position to provide the access facilities so that you don't have to wait every 2 weeks on a cargo vessel coming from Antigua to get your radiator there, and another 2 weeks for the radiator to come back. We should be in a position to get it done more expeditiously. And as you correctly pointed out, people like Moose used to do radiators in Montserrat. We have people here who can train persons how to fix radiators. And that is something very simple, and it creates a business opportunity for some youngsters as well.
You want to go, Jenzil?
Yeah, one of the busiest times of the year is coming up, gentlemen, and I just find that a lot of persons are getting a little bit frustrated. It's Christmas. Christmas is in the air. Persons who are traveling to Montserrat are trying to figure out how to get here. And then for those who provide services, the Calypsonians, the taximen, the United Alliance has said to you, have no fear. When we get into office, when you elect us in on October 24th, we are saying that we will make sure that the Christmas is had this year, that you can enjoy. You will have your calypso shows, your soca shows. No, presently you're not hearing anything, but we are also in the back room discussing how the Christmas can take place, and it'd be something that you will be proud of. And even looking as far as March 2025, that you will have a St. Patrick's that will be enjoyable as well. So I know you're not hearing anything at this time, but we will put the programs that you're accustomed so that you can enjoy yourselves and come out and make that time of the year a happy time, because it is a happy time that we're looking forward to as a population. And that is something that is on the table as well.
You say all of that is all well and good. But if we can't get people here, okay? If we can't get people here, and we can't guarantee that we will get them here, they're not going to book their passages. So we're saying to persons in wherever they are outside of Montserrat that in fact we will have a ferry service up and running by the 15th of November this year. We will have that ferry service up and running by November, by the middle of November of this year. Okay, I said November 15th, it could be a week late, it could be a week earlier. But we're saying to you, we're giving you the assurance that yes, you can book, because we believe that the people in Montserrat have sufficient faith in us that they will put United Alliance resoundingly in government, that we can boldly say, we will confirm that. We will confirm it. People are saying, okay, well, show us something that you have something happening. What it is that I can show you. I've shown the pictures of one of the vessels. The only thing I can do is say to you, with full assurance, we will have a certified vessel running between Antigua and Montserrat, and also between Antigua and some of the other islands in the slow season. And those who are planning to come for St. Patrick's, you can start your planning, because we need you here. And additionally, I've had a discussion with one of the original members of the planning committee for the St. Patrick's African Music Festival. They are saying, let us work together and get it on board for 2026. It's too late for 2025, but we'll get it on board for 2026 and change up the festival so that the Christmas festival is not competing with St. Patrick's Festival for the same old product. That way you have more tourists coming in, more of our locals coming in, and creating more of an economy within that period as well.
Okay. Yes, for the taximen and those persons who have their little shops in Little Bay, just remember, we are listening to you and we will deliver for you.
Gentlemen, we need to give way to some of the comments which we have. So, John, I mean, I want you to go to them, so at least those ones who took time out to write to us know that we're listening and we're taking heed of what they say. I just don't want to go and not acknowledge these persons.
Right. So one of the first questions I see here is, morning from the UK, Mr. Meade. What plans are there for us to come back home, and can Montserrat invest in a medical school?
Rather interestingly, we speak about the medical school. There has been discussions with a medical school. They wanted to take over the Viewpoint Hotel, and the previous governments have been very slow in making a decision to have the medical school here. But we're not giving up hope. Those investors have gone and they've invested, I think, in Dominica or one of those other islands. It's an opportunity lost, but we'll have to go out there and search for those opportunities.
And to support that, there is a young man on island who has been actively looking for universities. He's brought one home so far. And we pledge to support other persons and himself who are bringing other universities on island to deliver some academics so that we can increase that kind of tourism here on island.
This is an interesting question, because I think we've spoken about this quite a bit on our campaign. But it says, how about reintroducing what's on your mind, but in a different, more controllable format?
Well, as we've said, and we've said it on radio, on Radio Montserrat before, we are persons who believe in open communication. And Basil Chambers will tell the world that if he has an issue and he sees an issue, when I was in government, he will just simply say, could the man in the silver Jeep come to Radio Montserrat? And I will turn up, we open the lines, people will call, some cuss, but at least we speak to the people. We have guaranteed and assured the public, and this is a guarantee again, that every week, once a week, a minister of government will be on radio responding to the topic that is being discussed on What's on Your Mind. So if the topic is education, the minister with responsibility for education and his or her technical team will come on the radio to answer to the people. We don't hide from the people, and we will never hide from the people.
This is a healthcare question. It says, good day, UAP. Over the years, we have noted that some sick people coming to the UK for healthcare are taking a long time to get into the NHS system. In fact, people have died waiting. what are the plans to fast-track healthcare for our sick parents who travel to the UK? Why can't Montserrat have an agreement with a particular hospital in the UK for Montserrat emergency cases?
Well, that clearly is something that has to be addressed on the first visit to the United Kingdom, where we will have the discussions as it relates to, again, formalizing an agreement which we had, an MOU which we had, and again, Colin Riley was part of that discussion over there in the UK, where we actually had a MOU with one of the counties in the United Kingdom. So that is something, again, that has to be revived, and we give you the assurance we will look into that as well.
As I see some of these questions, I think maybe what we might need to do, perhaps sometimes, is take little snippets out of some of our discussions and probably replay them. Because, like, for instance, this one talks about special needs children and what we plan to do for special needs children.
Okay, the special needs children, and I hope I'm not treading on anybody's personal information. Dr. Buffonge sent me a referral of a child who went to Antigua to be assessed. When I saw the referral, I immediately got in touch with someone from New York who is in that business. The person got in touch with the parent, and they were in a position by using telephone technology to get that child up to the level where today that child is in preschool. And the mother simply said, I'm so proud of my child, she can even now do her ABCs. Prior to that, the school system was simply saying no. Once we started that discussion, my contact in New York said to me, since we started the program, and they've partially trained a teacher, others in that profession have said, we want to come to Montserrat, and we're willing to come in starting from next summer, first and foremost to come and do an evaluation, and then they will work with those children online. And that is something that is near and dear to me, because I was not aware that we had so many children that had those difficulties.
And we have one final question before we wrap up. It says, what about land accessibility in the exclusion zone and compensation for those who lost land so they can return?
Okay, we can't deal with the compensation for lands, but we can simply seek to make lands available to those who require lands for production. We have given the assurance that we will work with the MVO and the authorities to ensure that we can go into Molyneux and Lees, two areas that are not affected by the volcano adversely, and that we will make those lands, well, we can't make the lands available to them, but we can make access to those lands available to those persons who wish to go back there and farm. Because clearly, those are private properties. I plan to have a discussion with a large landowner today, based on our meeting in Codgerhead, where someone is saying, if I have 2 acres of land, I'll give up my government job and I'll go into full-time farming. So that's a call I need to make right after this program to make sure that those lands come back into production.
Gentlemen, I think, let me start by thanking those persons who took the time out to be part of this interactive program this morning. While we wanted to speak about the economy, we realized that some of the other questions were just as pertinent and as important. So that we thank you very much for being part of that process. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go on the table and again give you a chance to push your economic view, on whatever aspect of it you want to speak about, maybe from sports, agriculture, healthcare. This morning we didn't do much about agriculture and its agricultural importance. Because one thing that I think we wanted to speak about was chicken and how what we can do to improve this stock of local chicken available in the market. But I guess we'll continue the discussion at another point, but I'll let you just go now and speak a little bit of what your main focus would be from your individual point of view in government and as a team for the whole economic development of Montserrat.
Well, what I say, Austin, is that we know the challenges that we've had over the last 10 years. Streamlining some of these problems, making them, finding a solution and getting it fixed quickly is what we are about as the United Alliance. One of the things that we've highlighted, you would hear our leader speak to the EXCO track. I think we were to bring on the LegCo track, which was the next one, another version of the EXCO track, which is very much appropriate for the Legislative Assembly. In addition to that, streamlining the approval processes for additions, subdivisions, developments of structures over the ground, from the physical planning aspect, and even at the land registry, finding ways to make that information more accessible to those persons, not only on island, those in the diaspora who are trying to find lots. Persons are also trying to find properties to buy in Montserrat. There has to be a one area, similar to Miami and New York, where you can go on and find properties for sale in general, and we can find ways to make these systems come to fruition. But what we are saying to you, the people of Montserrat, this morning is that an election is due on October 24th. And you've heard the ideas of the United Alliance and these candidates before you, and those that you have seen on the ground, and those who have been communicating with you over the last several months. And we are asking for your support. We're asking for your endorsement on election day, because we need the candidates and the leader to work together to fix the issues that we have addressed and that we will find going forward. So remember, on election day, we're asking you to vote for United Alliance all the way.
Austin, I'll just leave on the point that we are a grouping that understands that we need to build both the public and the private sector. And we understand there's certain policies that we just need to put in place and certain aids that we just need to give to the private sector, because I think they've been left out of the discussion over the last 10 years. Traveling to Antigua, and since we know that we have an access solution that we're going to implement, traveling to Antigua, one of the things that popped up that we could easily help, like let's say our local entertainment groups or local business people who would benefit from tourism. We have, I don't know if it's the Montserrat Arts Council or the Montserrat Tourist Board that has advertisements that run in the Antigua airport, but can we not find some way to also give access to those advertisements to some of our local entertainment groupings or some of our local entertainment businesses? And these are just simple ways I'm thinking that you could help to push their business and get them to generate more business. So what I want people to understand is the United Alliance has many people with many different talents, and we understand the economy from many different aspects. And we as a grouping will put our brains together and find even just the simplest solution, such as the one I just mentioned, to help push the economy forward. So on October 24th, yes, we are asking that you support us as a group going forward, because we will get your economy moving.
One of the things that people tend to say is that, yes, around election time, people come and make all sort of promises. And this is what politicians do. That's what people generally feel. And then we don't see you again for another 5 years. I am not too sure that people can say that about the members of the United Alliance. We have been around, we have been part of community groups, we have been part of developments taking place in Montserrat. So we're not like Johnny come latelys. For those who know me, they know my track record. Yes, not everything is positive. You'll hear some negatives. But sometimes when you're outside looking in, you can see some of the mistakes you made in previous years and how you can fix them. Because sometimes when you're there, you don't see the issue. But when you come out and you look back and you realize, yo, this could have been done differently. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the things which we will do. We've heard the cries, we've heard from persons as to many of the things affecting us. We have to be in a position to say to the people, we are not here for the money. Okay? The fact that I'm saying I'm giving back a portion of my salary is a clear indication that what the leader of the opposition said in Parliament and said on the platform, that I broke and I hungry and I only coming back in for the money. Let one of them come on air to say they're willing to do the same thing that I'm offering, to help put their money back into the private sector and to help small businesses. Let them come and say that and give the assurance. We have a program of things which we are saying to you that we will be doing. We're giving you assurances that yes, we will get them done. Now, people make a big fuss about Fly Montserrat. Fly Montserrat has already said we can get Tecnam aircrafts here within X number of months. We're going to work with them. Whoever wish to be angry about that, that's their problem. But we're going to work with them so that they can upgrade the quality of their aircraft, because that helps with the airlift. We're also going to be working with the other carriers to ensure that we can get the Twin Otter in here as well. And remember, Twin Otter will not just be operating Montserrat, Antigua. It will be also going to Dominica. It will also be going to Nevis. It may even go to Barbuda. So we're opening up the possibilities. And we are going to do what needs to be done. The other thing is that persons have been saying that the governor has gone into an overreach. And we're saying it is not the Constitution. It is just that the previous governments have allowed the governor to do things that she should not be doing. But I agree with the governor. Unfortunately, I agree with the governor. Because if the ministers of government are not doing what they're supposed to do, somebody has to get it done. Mm-hmm. And that is why the governor has done what the governor is doing. I can assure you, I believe I will have a fantastic working relationship with this governor. Fantastic. So we have 29 days to go. There are 18 other persons in two parties that have ganged up against us. We're not in government. Why are they ganging up against us? Fighting against the United Alliance? It is because they're seeing that the United Alliance is the top party in this country who can bring change to Montserrat. They don't want to see change. They have done very little in the past 10 years. Do not let them get 2 and maybe 3, and then they can form a government again, because you'll get the same old, same old. Vote all the way for the United Alliance so that you can rebuild and restructure this country. Thank you very much. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for being with us, and join us next week, Thursday, for another edition of Let's Talk with the United Alliance.
Suffering in this country. Yes, that is why we're bringing back Reuben T Meade to take us out of this misery. We coming with John Osborne. We know you have the pedigree to lead the youths of this land. Yes, in business, motor sports and agriculture, you have a master plan. Tell them. Your history, when it comes to youths in this country, your passion goes way beyond. Our sports will be safe in your hand. Dwayne Hixon, you are the foundation on which this party will stand. In tourism, business, infrastructure, we couldn't ask for better. Never again, never again. The voters say plain, we're not voting them cap again. No way, never again, never again. We don't make up with United Alliance this time.
Keeping Montserrat alive. This is 95.5, 88.3 FM, ZJB Radio.